welcome to episode 20 of Trail Times podcast with Big Bear Events. There's been no events recently anyway since the last podcast. However, I thought I would sort of jump on the end of year bandwagon and do a little bit of a summary podcast. So the gist of this is just to go over what's happened during the year and look ahead a little bit to 2026 and what that's going to bring. And to start really by saying lots of thank yous. So obviously a big thank you to every single person that's been involved with Big Bear, however big or small, over 2025. It's been a good year. The numbers sort of don't lie in that we've had lots of sold out events, which has been excellent. But also it's felt like a good year. We've had good weather as well, mostly, which is always nice. But it's felt like a good year. It's felt like things are really moving forwards. And I know it was a long time ago, COVID, but it took quite a long time for events to really recover. And so 2024 was pretty solid, but 2025 sort of feels like we're really running with it now. And hopefully that's going to carry forward into 2026. None of this is possible though without all of the volunteers that come and help. Loads of people. So I have a very, very basic Excel spreadsheet to track the volunteers, who's helping and whatnot, and their contact details. And I've got 80 different people on that list. So 80 people have helped over the year to get people out running. 80 different individuals, but a lot of volunteering slots, because there are people that come lots and lots of times to volunteer. So if you've been to any Big Bear event, except I think 2 out of 120 odd, you'll have been greeted at some point by Anne and Dave, my mum and dad, who have volunteered at every single event apart from one during COVID, I think, when my mum wasn't well. So they help at everyone, and so obviously I'm very thankful for that. And they help a lot behind the scenes as well. So little things that they don't sound maybe that major, but just emptying. So when we were hiring vans, which we only stopped doing in the last few events, they would come after the event and they would help me unload the van so I could then get it back in time to the hire company. Bit different now, but all those little things really do add up. And Mary as well she was at every single event this year apart from one when she was overseas doing triathlon. Absolute hero, just lots and lots of help. She even picks up the apple juice for me from the supplier because it's a bit closer to her, drives it across so I can then take it off her. So again, it's not just on the day help, it's helping just all around, all these little things that otherwise wouldn't get done. I don't want to go through and name everybody that's helped because I'll miss people out, but I mean, people like Brian and Kerry and Elaine and Sarah, Claire, who else here? Paul and Amy have just helped on multiple times as well. So it's not just coming along and helping once, it's coming along helping 3 or 4 times through the year. And it really, really just makes everything so much easier knowing that I've got people coming along that know what they're doing. And it's not to be rude or dismissive about anybody else, but if I can turn up and I can just get on with what I'm doing because they've done it so many times, they know what needs to be done, it does make the day go a lot quicker, especially in the morning. That said, love it when we get people just turn up, maybe they've never even run a Big Bear event before, and they come and volunteer and it's the first interaction they have. And I mean, it is a really good way of introducing yourself to the company, as in, if you're not sure, go and volunteer, then you'll see what it's like. My personal introduction to all things event organising was through volunteering. So when we didn't live around here, we lived in Kent, and I was doing triathlons. I think I've spoken about this before, but I had friends in the tri club down there in Medway Tri who did ultras, and this was in 2013. I'd never heard of anybody doing ultras. and Centurion have events on down in that area. The runners down there, Gordon said, well, go and volunteer. You'll get free entry for next year and you'll see what it's like and you'll see if you think you'll be able to do it. Went down, volunteered, loved it. And obviously full circle now I work with Centurion. But it was a really good way of seeing what the event's like. If I didn't like it, I wouldn't have done it. I'd have moved away, nothing really lost. And so we get a handful of people do that with Big Bear. Obviously, it's not quite 100 miles overnight and so on and so on. So it's a little bit less of an unknown. However, come and run around the woods for 6 hours on a Tuesday outside the school holidays is a little bit odd. So I appreciate that you might want to come and have a check out to see what it's like beforehand. But all help is massively, massively appreciated. I never, ever, ever take it for granted. Without the support of people doing things, none of this happens. I'm not the only one. There's no running events happen. There's no sporting events at whatever level. Even getting towards professional competitions, they rely on volunteers. So please volunteer when you can. It just helps everything. And I'm not a particularly spiritual person, but it's got to help you in karma, right? Like if you're giving something back, you've hopefully got to get something back from the sport when you need it. So a huge thank you to everybody that has given time to help Big Bear have a really, really good 2025. I'm not going to go through every single event because that would be quite boring. However, if you do want to be bored, I have done essentially a post a day on Instagram and Facebook going over the events that have happened. Coincidentally, I've managed to make it so it ends on the 24th of December, which is very good planning that wasn't planned at all. It just happens to be where it falls. I saw another company did a sort of like one of their event reviews sort of thing of events they'd done earlier in the year, and I thought, that looks quite cool, I'll do that. And it was nice. It was really nice going back through the events and remembering what was happening and little things that came up and bits you forget. Things like at the Bat Challenge where we were inundated with these maybugs that if you've not seen them before, I'd never seen them before, and I don't think anybody else who was there had either. If you can't see this, but if you're watching, they were sort of, I don't know, 1.5 inches, sort of like a cockroach but soft, so sort of like a big moth but hard. And as soon as it saw your head torch or any light, considering at the aid station, any light, you couldn't get rid of it, and it would buzz and it would go right sort of in your face, in your ears. Oh, it was horrible. And I didn't like it. I really, really, really didn't like it. And so we were trying to swat these things away, but if you didn't kill it, it just sort of kept coming back at you. It wasn't sort of like a wasp that you swat away and then it leaves. Once it sort of was fixated on the light, it just came at you. They're called maybugs, but yeah, that was horrible. And then following on the insect theme, we had the attack of all the wasps at the Swan Challenge, where again the aid station was just swarmed with wasps, and you couldn't get rid of these wasps. There were hundreds of them, but we only had one person got stung the whole time, which was incredible. But that was an eventful day. But it's just really, really good going back and looking at some of the performances as well, because I don't always necessarily take those in at the time. I do make a thing of not being focused purely on sort of winners and who goes the furthest and the quickest and things like that. But when you're looking back 6 months later, they are the things that stand out. It was really, really good as well to go through and see the gender balance for each event, and pretty much every single one was as close to 50-50 as you're going to get, or slightly more women than men. I think the exception was Trailfest at Cannock Chase. That had more men, but generally speaking it's a 50-50 or a 55-45 either way. But it's a really good gender split, which is really good to see. Yes, it's not 100-mile ultras where the gender split is shocking, and is more like a 15 to 85% split, with shorter events, of which obviously our 6-hour events can be, if you decide for them to be. The gender split generally is 50-50. But hopefully people come and do my events, they see you can run longer and there's other women doing it, and we can you can see sort of other role models doing it that aren't Instagram models. They're just normal people doing normal things, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way at all, but it's great to see, and it's really, really nice to go through. And I've started about 8 years too late, but I've started to actually log now on each event the entries and the income. That's for my own benefit, but to see the entries and whether it's sold out. And this year I think we've had 11 of the events have been sellout events, which is superb. And yes, I can increase the numbers for some of them, and I will do, but that's not going to be at the expense of the event. So some venues won't work with lots of people. Daventry Country Park, right? The Squirrel Challenge is going to be on the 4th of February, and that event is selling quite nicely. Very, very likely to sell out. But the car park is only so big, so I could sell more entries, and then I'd be sort of worrying about the car park, and then sort of be like, well, you know, you should have got here earlier, or whatever. I don't want to do that for the sake of having a few extra quid. So the entries will be capped at that one. That event will sell out after Christmas, probably before New Year. But there is a limit, so I could probably sell more places, but I don't want to do it if the events aren't going to be good, because then you won't want to come back because the events aren't any good. So it's about trying to get that balance right. So that is what I'm after at the moment, but obviously I don't want to leave money on the table either. So to have a waiting list of 10-15 people sort of makes you feel a little bit good, but then when you look at that and thinking that's £40 each and it's £400 or whatever you've not taken, it's not ideal. So I'm really, really keen to get the perfect number. What I'm looking at trying to do is to try and add in a couple more events during the year as well, so that I can maybe spread those numbers out a little bit, so it just works out better. So maybe if I can sort it out in the next week or two, there'll be 3 or 4 extra events for next year put into the diary as well. So hopefully, if you're watching this, you are signed up to our VIB, the Very Important Bear mailing list. That will be where the events get announced first. You'll get your 20% discount. So just make sure you signed up to that. But if you're watching this, I can't imagine that you won't be signed up to that or listening to this. And on the listening to this bit, so this is the slight craziness of doing this sort of thing. So this is episode 20. I'm going to keep on doing it during next year as well. It'll probably be mainly after events and then some specialer ones like this. But I think it's quite a nice way of rounding up the events. It gives it a point in time, and if people are looking at doing it in the future, they can go back and hopefully listen to what I've done before. And if you've got comments, constructive criticism is always welcomed. Unsurprisingly, I am not a professional podcaster, and so all of this is just me sort of blagging it a little bit. So if you've got basics that I should do better, then please tell me. I'm trying my best to do what I can. I'm trying to get more videos at each of the events, because I think they're really good to get the little snips from where people are actually talking, and I'm trying to improve the audio quality all the time by just playing with stuff. But audio quality in a shed at the bottom of the garden is always going to be a little bit iffy, but I have tried to buy some decent kit and a little bit of soundproofing to try and make it better. But all criticism, constructive or otherwise, I guess, is always appreciated. But Spotify, so if you've got your own Spotify account, you'll get a Spotify Unwrapped, where it tells you like what you've listened to and so on and so on. As they like to call it, creator, I get one for the podcast as well. And so apparently, and I just genuinely don't believe this, but this podcast for its debut season was more popular than 90% of other new shows. I just don't I really, really don't believe that. I can only assume people put like one episode up, no one listens to it, and then they bin it off. And so that's why this is doing better. I know the numbers of the people that listen, so I just don't understand how 90% of people can be doing worse than this does. But thank you. And also, another one that I found funny was that this podcast is in the top 10 for 59 people, which I think means there's 59 people that have listened to this podcast once on Spotify and don't listen to any other podcasts on Spotify, and so that is why it's at their top, because I don't even do many episodes, so then to be at the top doesn't really make any sense at all to me. But I'm not going to argue. And then another one that stood out for me is the top countries. So obviously United Kingdom, yeah, that makes sense. United States, okay, I guess people might be on holiday. And then clearly we've had people on holiday listening to the podcast. So I hope you enjoyed your trip to Chile, Australia and France. It might be 3 separate people. It might be one person that's been travelling very well. I think that might be lots of wine countries. So that's quite good. So maybe that's someone going on a bit of a wine cruise. But yeah, so it's strange. You get these statistics and it's all sort of means nothing. What I would like to do though, heavily based on that theme, is to try and do sort of like a Big Bear version of it, and to get some statistics that I can pull together for Big Bear overall. So surprisingly, again, I don't quite have the budget that Spotify have or Strava have, but I could do it for Big Bear overall if I store the data from the first event. I only really had the thought a few days ago, and I'm not going to trawl back through 15 events worth of data to plug it all in. But I could start recording number of Jaffa cakes bought, number of laps done, total distance, fastest time, fastest this, whatever it is. But if I start recording on the first event and then feed it through every other event, I could get a 2026 year in review with stats. So if you've got any ideas as to what stats I should collect, let me know. And being as you've this far into the podcast or on the YouTube video, you're clearly a bit of a fan. So I will take your suggestions and I will go with them as long as they're not completely stupid. But yeah, events have gone really, really well. Also, if you are watching, you may well see that I have a slightly different t-shirt on to normal. So this is a Big Bear Events crew t-shirt. So I had a few big boxes turn up a few days ago. And so the plan is that if you come and volunteer at the events, you'll get a t-shirt that you can hopefully wear on the day if the weather's fitting, or take it away with you, wear it wherever you want, and then when you come back and help out again, have the t-shirt and bring it with you. I've also got some windbreakers. They're sort of shower proof, but they're sort of thin little windbreakers with, again, Big Bear Events crew on. And then for myself and some of the core team that I mentioned earlier, I've got some nice new red coats that we'll all be wearing as well. So I just like the idea of you coming, you get your free entry, you get your t-shirt to show you've been there, and you get your drink to go away with. And I think it's just a nice little touch. They're not going to get much use when we do our events in January because you can't see the t-shirts because it'll be freezing, and you'll probably want big coats on, so the windbreakers won't be any good. But once we get into the spring and the summer, hopefully you'll start to see more of the crew in the red t-shirts and things to make them stand out. But it's just another little way for me to say thank you, really, for people to giving their time and their support. So I will be wearing this stuff, I would imagine. But yeah, it's just a nice little thing to do. And on the merch side of things, I've not come prepared, but hopefully you're listening and it doesn't matter. Just pretend that I'm showing you things. Depending on when this goes out, hopefully before it's, or while it's relevant, if you want to get stuff posted for Christmas, you need to have it ordered before Friday at 9 a.m. I will then start collating everything and sending it all out and go to the post office during Friday to get it all sent out so it gets to you before Christmas. But we've got lots of new merch. We've got really, really nice big, thick red hoodies that are incredibly warm. We've got the favourite bobble hat, we've got buffs, neck warmers, and we've got collapsible cups, we've got normal t-shirts, we've got headbands, we've got hats, we've got all sorts. So have a look. It really does help me put food on the table and presents in front of the kids when you buy things from me. When you buy it from big corporate conglomerate, they know nothing of it. When I see a purchase come in, I see it immediately on my phone, it gives me a nice little buzz and I get it sent out to you. So if you're looking to do some stocking fillers, please see what we've got. Happy to send it out as quickly as possible to get it to you, and that would be massively appreciated. So just look on the website for those details. And that's about it for 2025. So it's been a really, really good year. I remembered, I don't know, when I was doing something the other day, that I was giving sort of personal updates on the running and things that I was doing when I started doing this podcast, mainly in the run up to Trans Gran Canaria Marathon, because I think I started the podcast a few weeks before I did that event, and I was running around a lot and I was doing a lot of running. I don't do so much running at the moment, so I'm running twice a week while the kids do clubs and things, and I go and sort of do shorter sessions, but I'm not doing loads of running. I've got no events personally booked up, so it's not particularly interesting. I'm trying to hit the gym. What an idiot. I'm going to the gym quite a bit, so I'm doing that. I'm quite enjoying that. But at the moment, my voice is a bit raspy, which I only realised once I started recording this. I'm in a house full of sickness, so I'm just trying to get through to Christmas, get rid of all the illness, and just try and focus on that bit at the moment. But next year, hopefully I'll be able to try and find some events that I can do. If anybody has suggestions on events that are either on Saturdays, it'd be even better if there's kids events attached to it as well, because my Sundays are just gone taking children to football games and other clubs as well, so I just can't do Sundays. If only there was a company that did events during the week, and that would be great for me. Potentially I might go and do some of the other events that are on during the week. I know I'm not the only one, I'm not that arrogant or ignorant, but I might go and do some of those events, because it is nice to do an event every now and then, but I'm just trying to look after myself a little bit. But I'm not really doing those, and that's why there haven't been any updates. 2026 already got a sellout event, which is amazing. So the Crocodile Challenge is our fundraiser with Roald Dahl's Marvellous Children's Charity, which is a proper tongue twister, and I have to say in full, and I have to type in full, and I spell it wrong it's a nightmare. It's a very long charity name, but a brilliant charity that does amazing work for seriously ill children. Really, really good cause, and that event has sold out. So the only places that are available now are charity places. It's the first time I've done something like this where we've had charity places or a charity hookup. So the way that it's going to work is, I think there's about 15-ish places left for the charity. I don't have the exact number because they've got the places, but there's about 15 places left. There's no minimum fundraising target, so it's not like London Marathon where you've got to raise $2,500, right? We're not doing that, but you just need to raise more than the entry fee, and you can grab a place from them. And if you raise, I don't know what their level is, but if you raise over a certain amount, they'll send you out their vest as well that you can run in to show you're raising funds for them as well. So it's brilliant to be supporting them. Also donating 7.5% of the income to them as well. It's just a cash donation from Big Bear, from me. So that's really, really good to be able to support them in that way. So it's a really different way of doing it for us. And I know other events do charity link-ups and things, and it's sort of relatively commonplace. But I've increased the numbers that I've sold, so I'm okay, and that extra little bit, rather than that being entries to me, the charity are taking those, and so it's going to be a good level of fundraising for that day. I was a bit nervous when we set all this up sort of earlier this year, because I didn't know how many places we'd sell, but the event's sold out. The waiting list has already got 10, 12 people on it, I think, when I last checked. So if you're on that waiting list and you want to run, contact the charity. All the details are on the website. Contact the charity and grab one of their places. And like I say, you don't need to be raising £500 to run with them. It'd be brilliant if you could. Really, really good if you could. But as long as it's over the entry fee, then that's brilliant. I don't want people thinking it's a shortcut to pay £10 for an entry. That's not okay. But if you're raising over the entry fee, they get that money straight to them, straight to helping children that need help. And yeah, really, really good. That said, it clearly shows that those events early in the year are going to sell out, and they always do. Every year, the early sort of January, February events sell out, and it normally sells out between Christmas and New Year because people eat so much and are so gluttonous over Christmas that they sit there thinking, right, I'm going to have to sort this out. Or they've got big events planned for the spring, and so they want to book in some sort of long training runs. We get loads and loads of people that use the events that we hold. So I slightly messed around with it, or switched the dates. So we are at Ryton Pools for the first event, but rather than being the first week of February, it's the last week of January. So it's the 23rd of January. That Ryton Pools event, we get so many people using it as their first long run for London Marathon prep. So either Crocodile Challenge at Ryton Pools or the Squirrel Challenge at Daventry Country Park, perfectly timed for those first sort of 16-mile runs as part of your training plan. Go long, slow, steady, we'll look after you. It's better than doing laps around your house, so you've got the water with you, so you don't need to carry anything on your back. We'll look after you, all good, brilliant. And they're both, especially Ryton is road shoes all year round. Daventry Country Park, the route that we use now, road shoes all year round as well. I mean, it can get a little bit sticky in places, but sort of for 20 metres, not for long periods. And then the Badger Challenge and the Elephant Challenge, people will start to use that for their later training as well. Obviously, the Badger Challenge at Beacon Hill, if you've got a flat marathon, if you're training for Manchester, maybe it's not the best one to be using as your training runs, but it's all going to count, and it'll make Manchester feel a lot easier if you're used to running on the big hills at Beacon Hill. So if you want to enter those events, enter them now, enter them early, because they will sell out. I've got, if you're on the mailing list, you'll have seen 2 events were launched this week as I sit here. So that was the Kingfisher Challenge and the Dragonfly Challenge. Dragonfly Challenge is at Pooley Country Park, which is a brand new place for us. They don't have running events on there. I don't think they've ever had running events on there, as far as I'm aware. There's no park run there, so it's going to be a new place for lots of people. It's taken me ages to get that agreed because it goes through a SSSI, Site of Scientific Special Interest. So Natural England, as in the government department, had to sign off on the event. We use all the paths that are there all the time, so you could go there, walk around perfectly legally, doing whatever you want, but for some reason, because it's an event, it requires a lot more paperwork, which seems pointless. But anyway, we are going to be there at the end of April, so that's really good. And I'm looking at the moment to try and get another event in April, and I'm going to try and put a couple of extra events in around what I've already got. Again, because the events have been selling out, if I put an extra event on, I think it might spread that out a little bit so we don't have loads on the waiting list. We'll see. Potentially some new venues in there as well. I'm literally just waiting for a contract to come through so I can announce Trailfest in September and where that's going to be. If that all works out, that's going to be pretty cool as well. That's another venue that is currently used for one duathlon and one 5k, like same event, but they do a duathlon and a 5k there. So half of the course that we're going to use, no one's ever had a running event on. It's not somewhere that's used very often. It's only 20 minutes from my house, which is excellent. So it's within sort of the core Big Bear territory between Northampton, Milton Keynes and Coventry. As soon as I move away from there, I lose people. The majority of my audience is in that area, so that would be great. And I'll try and have new things going out through the year, trying to sort out a nutrition partner, someone to give us gels and electrolytes, hopefully. We'll have Ultra coming back with us. We'll try and get the sports massage people to come along, because that was brilliant at Saucy. So I want to try and do that as much as possible. And I want to make 2026 a brilliant year. I want it to just keep going and going and going and going. The events aren't going to get bigger. They're just going to be selling out quicker. And that's how it's going to be. We're not going to have 400 people for a 10K. It's just not going to be how I do things. I'm not going to have 200 people for a 6-hour event. It's just not going to work, right? I want them to feel like you're getting one-to-one service as you go round, and that's what I want. But I still need to be able to make some money to afford to live and so on. So I've got to get that balance. But the event that we held, the Dormouse Challenge, good sales for that. Event felt brilliant. Perfectly sized, so that is sort of the target. Maybe 1 or 2 extra, but literally a handful. It's not going to be having another 40 people starting, because I just don't want to do that. I don't want it to feel like you're sort of just a corporate person coming through, get your bib, off you go, bye. That's not what Big Bear's about. Thank you very much. If you've got this far, well done, as I always say. Thank you very much. 2025 has been excellent. We're going into year, hang on, I'm doing quick maths in my head, year 8, year 9, started in 2018. So 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, year 9. So it's going to be the 9th edition of going back to Wright & Paul's for the start of a Big Bear year. So then that means 2027 is going to be the 10th anniversary. So I'll have to think of something to do for that. I don't know what, but we'll do something. But thank you very much. Thank you for all the support. Again, if you've got ideas about this, what I'm doing, if you've got ideas about any of it, then please let me know. I get the majority of the people who interact with this are watching on YouTube, so I'll keep the video stuff going. It does make recording it just take so much longer, because I essentially share an office with my wife, and she doesn't want to listen to me talking out loud while she's trying to do some actual work. So I have to do this at night, which is why it's pitch black outside. But we'll keep the video going, because that's how people want to interact with it. It's excellent. If you've got friends that are a bit on the fence about Big Bear, point them to this, get them to come and do things, get them to come and watch, and hopefully they'll want to do it. So a massive thank you. Enjoy Christmas. Hopefully you get a break, and I will speak to you all in the new year.